Hello everyone. You're welcome to this week's Tech Tuesdays webinar on EDC 10.5 Upgrade Experience. I'm Rinda, your host for today's webinar. Today we have with us Devashish Sharma, Senior Manager from the EDC Product Management Group, having 15 years of experience in distinct data journeys and product management. He's also responsible for EDC standard and advanced scanners. Before we start this webinar, here are some housekeeping tips. The duration of the webinar is 1 hour. That includes 15 minutes Q&A. You can post your queries in the Q&A box. Dial-in participants are muted for the entire session. The session is being recorded and will be available in the Informatica Support YouTube channel and the Success portal. You will be able to download the slide deck from the Success portal. Please feel free to put in your feedbacks and suggestions for the session in the post-webinar survey. The Tech Tuesdays webinars are hosted within the Success portal, which is a microlearning platform that offers free and unlimited learning to all registered users. This feature-rich platform was launched to help you learn and use Informatica products better. A newly launched data governance learning path in the Success portal will enable you to implement data-centric approach to compliance based on your role. Here are a few important links that you can go over later that will help you in your product adoption journey with Informatica. Over to you, Devashish. Thank you.
Thank you, Vinda, for the introduction. Hello, everyone. Thanks once again for joining us on the EDC 10.5 series of webinar. So before this, we had 3 more webinars for overview an advanced scanner specialized webinar, and then 1 specialized webinar for domain discovery. So this is the one which is focused on the upgrade experience. We will talk about few things on what should be the sizing that we need to consider, what was the performance benefit that you'll get, what was the rationale behind moving away from our Hadoop stack to a newer technology stack of MongoDB and Nomad. We'll talk about a bit of architecture. There are a lot of questions from our customers as well, where they say that what all is changing in the architecture. We just want to highlight that there is a very limited area of architecture which is getting touched in the change that we're talking about. So, and then we will talk about some prerequisites and post activities that we have to do. What do we need to take care of while doing an upgrade? What are the detailed steps that we need to follow in the upgrade? Just a high level for you to get the confidence. And then where do you look for if you are having any troubles? And of course, you know, the GCS is always more than happy to support any of the challenges. Should you have, please go ahead and then reach out to us, and then we would be happy to help. Well, that said, let's get started. My name is Devashish Sharma. I'm Senior Manager Products for EDC space. Looking at the on-premise EDC product from the scanners, standard scanners and advanced scanners perspective as well. So what basically the rationale behind we deciding to move away from our Hadoop stack and then moving to a Nomad MongoDB stack was the twofold. One is that the version that we were using is going to be end of life by the end of this year. And we saw this as an opportunity for us to move away from the Hadoop stack to a non-Hadoop stack. And then that's where we chose a new technology stack, which is more relevant to industry, and then will keep us up to speed for at least half a decade from here, so that we know that we are well established and are up to speed with the latest trends of the market in terms of the technology stack. There are concerns about that. What if the architecture is changed? How my system is going to behave? What are the challenges that the customer need to face? So our response to that is that you would have, first of all, there are no hardware changes that you'll have to go through. There are no software prerequisites that you have to undergo. If you are an internal cluster, everything remains as is. You can use the same infrastructure and then utilize that for Hadoop stack, non-Hadoop stack to non-Hadoop stack. And there is no functional loss is what we guarantee. There has to be some improved performance. We'll talk about performance a little more in depth. We have won small wars in each areas in performance, but then our promise is that you would not see a degradation in your performance, right? So that's something which has been taken care of. The upgrade process has been made seamless. Our intention is to, even if it is changing the architecture, even if it is changing the infrastructure from the deployment perspective, even if it is change of the technology stack, we want to make sure that the upgrade experience from a customer perspective is same as what they were before. So we will talk about this as well in a bit, slightly. And then, of course, you would get the support like you were getting it before from our customer support team, which is 24/7. So basically, you need not to worry about even if it is MongoDB Nomad. You need not to worry about their OS supports, their security patches, or any other patches that they've been sent, or any housekeeping that needs to be taken care of for Nomad and MongoDB perspective. That's been taken care by us, and the customer just need to worry about the catalog part of it. One thing to highlight, that all our customers who are on a version lesser than 10.5 will have to mandatorily upgrade their instance from any version less than 10.5 to 10.5 before March of 2022. We have this is something which is we are running a program for upgrading all the customers this year. My request to you is that even if you have a presence and then you do not target to do an upgrade in the first quarter or second quarter, my request to you is that you should start circling back with us, try and understand what is the upgrade challenges that you might face, how should you be your upgrade strategy. Do you want to do an upgrade of your dev environment and then see if you're facing any challenges? Because one thing that I want to highlight over here is that I would recommend you do an upgrade or start doing an upgrade exercise earlier than later. If you run it in the last quarter, and if for any reason environmental challenges or anything which impacts your upgrade, then you will run against time, and which is not the right place to be in. Moving forward, so this is basically a comparison between the tech stack that we had in 10.4 versus 10.5. You will see that each store engine, which was an H-based or Solar or HDFS, is now being replaced. Most of them has been MongoDB. There are few which remains as is, like Index and Event Store, and the config store which remains as is. The Similarity store was H-based before, is now being replaced by Postgres SQL. The compute which was Spark is now native on Nomad. So basically, most of the stores are replaced by MongoDB, and then barring a couple of the ones which remains as is, or Similarity store is replaced from H-based to Postgres. From the storage perspective, it is, like I said, MongoDB, Postgres, Solar. The orchestration and security has been taken care of by Nomad. For compute, it is again native Java scanner ingestion service. So that is something that remains as is. One thing to highlight and note here, that customers need not to worry about the software licenses. MongoDB, Postgres, Solar, Nomad, all of these licenses which you're going to be using in in your deployment is being taken care by us and is part of the license that you have purchased. So this is something that I was talking about, that the section which is highlighted in a blue dotted box is the only change that we have in our architecture. Rest all the architecture, be it an analytic service or MRS or PWH or any domain service or any other, I mean, service, be it for profiling or be it for repository management, everything else remains same. Just the infra cluster, which used to be heavily on Hadoop HBase, is being replaced by Solar, MongoDB, and Nomad, and that's the only change you will see in the architecture. The upgrade process, like I said, remains fairly as it was before. So all the activities which you were doing in the upgrade process is as is. The auto deployment of a version change before is now replaced by auto deployment of a new ICS service. ICS service is basically Informatica cluster service. So basically this particular step is where your IHS, which is Informatica Hadoop service, will get replaced by ICS, which is Informatica Cluster Service. Also in 10.5, we have merged the binaries of advanced scanners into the binaries of the domain. So before 10.5, if you have advanced scanners, you would have to get two different installers, one for advanced scanner, one for the domain. So post 10.5, you will just get one installer. The binary has been merged, and then the same installer will be able to do the installation of your domain and the advanced scanners. Advanced scanners are now more simplified. They're working as the standard scanners. The configuration, the way it is getting configured is as standard scanners, so that you get a similar kind of experience. Of course, there are more capabilities in advanced scanners, so obviously you will get to see that, and more capabilities means more configurations as well. However, the configurations are pretty simple. If you are doing a basic configuration, it's like only few sections that you have to give values, and rest all has been taken care. You can execute or create from I mean the automation from create and all and execute is being it can be managed by from the UI of the advanced scanner, and it will go ahead and impact the EDC resource. It is now absolutely on the native model. That would mean that we've been using and extending the existing EDC model for advanced scanner modeling. The EDC features which were for advanced scanners, or which were for standard scanners, sorry, are now being found on the advanced scanner as well. So you say, for example, connectionless or connection assignment or reference object. So all of these features were for standard scanners and now is being available for advanced scanners as well. Like binaries, even the licenses are merged as well. You still would have to purchase for advanced scanners separately. However, if you have purchased advanced scanners, your domain license key will have the advanced scanner bit in it. So you don't essentially need two different license keys. One license key will cater both for domain and advanced scanner. Here are a few readiness from security perspective as well. So we have identified globally, the identification of security threat is at our three places. One is at source when you are doing authentication authorization. Second is during transit. And third is when the data is at rest. So we have taken care in all three places. And during authentication, it has been covered under MTLS. And Vault manages the internal certificates. Vault is being offered to us by HashiCorp with Nomad. Encryption of data in transit. This is again being taken care by TLS. The encryption of data at rest is now AES 256 in 10.5, which used to be AES 128 before. The high availability is being introduced. There's no more single point of failure. Of course, you're on a cluster. The load balancing and high availability is being taken care by them. There is also a provision for a Postgres high availability custom setup, which if you want to do, you can do it from scaling perspective. The disaster recovery support remains as is. The hard backups for regular data replication at DR sites is something which is still valid and available. The DR setup would run in alpha active passive mode, and then it would be available when needed. If there is a specific documentation for disaster recovery and high availability, the guide is available on the documentation side. You can very much download for more references. From the sizing perspective, the sizing remains as is. If you see in this particular table, the center section is for 10.5 and the section the right is for 10.4. You'll see that the size of the number of nodes versus the CPUs versus the RAM and disk size itself, all of that remains as is. However, there is a slight bit of advantage if you're on a high kind of setup. The disk space where you used to where you need 12 TB is now you just need 6 TB, so that's been halved. Otherwise pretty much same, and then the number of objects as well, number of concurrency as well. So everywhere there are small performance improvements. However, like I said before, our guarantee is that you would not see a degrade. So keeping the same infrastructure will guarantee you to get same result. What we have also done this year is with 10.5, we have tested another configuration, which is for very high, where the objects are more than 100 million with 100 concurrent users. Resources are more than 1,000. So we have launched another configuration, which is like a 6-node cluster, 96 CPU. And that's something which was not available in 10.4. So this is just to add everything. I mean, my request to all of our customers is that they should see this as an opportunity to optimize their systems. If they were crammed, they should use this opportunity while upgrading to put a bigger system, or I mean, they want to move from low to medium to high, whatever configuration they want to move. Use this as an opportunity to relook at your infrastructure setup and then see accordingly. You would know that we at Informatica do not charge based on the infrastructure settings, based on the configuration that you're using. The charging model still remains on resources. So it does not really matter if you are on a low, medium, or high from our perspective. It's just the way that you would want to do the deployment at your end. From advanced scanners and similarity profiling, it is straightforward. There's like single node is what you need. Low, medium, high, very high configurations have been mentioned. So it is pretty much the way it was before. The advanced scanners and the service runs on domain each additional hardware and not as a separate node. So that's something to note here. Similarity profiling to be deployed on an additional node, because this is something which is other than the regular node. So the configuration that you're seeing for advanced scanners is something which is not a separate node, but just that the additional hardware on the existing node setup. However, for similarity, you might need an additional node to take care of that. EDC 10.5 performance highlights. Here, I will cover a few of the highlights of the performance improvement that we have seen in 10.5. So, and these are basically outcome of the beta testing that we have performed with the customers. Our internal beta testing, internal alpha users have given us feedback, and then our performance team has done. So it's the mix of all the statistics that we have gathered during the alpha, beta, internal testing phases, and eventually we have come up with these stats. If you are doing an upgrade, which is like a 2 to 4 million catalog size, the upgrade is like a 1 hour affair for you. If it is a catalog asset size, which is like 20 million odd, it takes 6 hours, which previously used to take 10 hours or beyond. If there's 100 million catalog assets, it takes 20 hours, which used to take few days before. So there's a lot of improvement in the upgrade cycle. So this is something that we have got feedback from customers as well. They're very happy with the upgrade process. If you are doing, you can do a one sit upgrade in a way. From growth perspective, the upper limit of testing that we have done in our labs were 100 million before, but with this 10.5 configurations, we have reached the testing till 500 million, which is a big success in terms of the volume testing. So we have reached the asset size of 500 million, as we have been able to successfully test that with the same configuration that we were using for 100 million. For similarity performance perspective, we have seen a lot of improvement from 1.5x to 63x. And this is again a big win from similarity perspective. It is for similarity configuration support. The performance we have validated for 12 advanced scanners out of 15, and all of them have seen improved performance as was before. The new architecture can scale with better concurrency. So we did talk about some concurrent users, and it's not the upper limit. So if for instance, if there's one specific configuration where we're saying 20 concurrent users, and if you go till 25, it will not break or it will not queue it up. It will still support that. So that's something which is there. The startup time has been reduced by 20%. So most of our customers or internal staff has reported that it is faster to restart a service and refresh a service and then come back to BAU. It used to take a couple of to 5 minutes at times. Now it is less than a minute in terms of starting up the service. Moving on. There are tons of questions which have been asked in relation with the upgrade process and things like that. We have documented most of them under this site. Feel free to browse yourself, look for your questions you have, and then answers. If you have any questions which is outside the questions which we have documented, we're more than happy to take that question and give you a solution of. So now let's talk about the upgrade process in little more details. Few prerequisites that you need to consider before starting an upgrade. One is that you have to have enough space in your disk. We are recommending to have at least 100 GB of free space before starting an upgrade. The SDK 1.8 needs to be installed. If you are upgrading from a cluster enabled for Kerberos or SSL, you need to take backup of trust rows and key store files. Verify that NTPD is synchronized for the domain node and the cluster node. The cluster needs to be up and running. There should be no job which should be in progress. The cluster service should be up and running as well, and make sure the cluster service has been running under read-only mode. Make sure that few packages which are essential for are like bash, rsync, example. So these are the ones which you need to make sure that these are being installed already before starting. The default ports for Informatica cluster service needs to be available. I will just show you the list of the ports that we need, and if these are occupied, request you to free them up, because these are the ports which the system, the ICS, is going to look for every time. Clear the configured value for trust row password, and if the domain is enabled with SSL. So I'm gonna stay here for 10 seconds so that you can stare at the ports. So these are the ports per specific section. So these are needs to be freed up. Make sure that these are available for system to auto assign themselves on the default ports. Moving on to the compute cluster prerequisites. So there are pseudo privileged permissions that you need to before you start a restart install of the software. So these are the minimum permissions that you need for in the pseudo user. However, post the installation has been completed or upgrade is completed, you can very much go ahead and then remove these permissions from the sudoers. However, if you have to restart or reinstall any of the services, then you would need some of them. So if there's a provision to remove them normally and then add them whenever whenever you want to restart the application or reinstall any of the component, I think that's the best practice to follow. There are a few requirements for TLS as well. So again, JDK needs to be 1.8. The OpenSSL needs to be installed. JDK key tool utility is required as well. OpenSSL is required as well, and those needs to be made available. In the image here, we're just demonstrating that what all sudo commands that we need, what all packages that permissions that we need, and what are they used for. So if at all you're raising an exception with your IT stuff, you might need these definitions. These are available for your reference. There are a couple of things that you need to consider during the upgrade, right? So if you are on a custom SSL, then make sure that you have the certificate for ICS and CS, which is Informatica Cluster Service and Catalog Service, being generated beforehand. If your Hadoop gateway user is a root user, then you need to use a non-root user with sudo permissions that we did talk about for Informatica Cluster Service gateway user. Make sure that the non-root user must have read-write permissions for ICS custom directory. If you're using advanced scanners, make sure that you enable that, select the advanced scanner option during the upgrade. My suggestion to you is, if you see this as the slightest of chance to have advanced scanner being onboarded in the near future, please go ahead, select that, and then you would be able to install it later. If you do not do that, and in later you decide to install in advanced scanners, then you will have to ask us for a script for the installation of advanced scanners, and that will add up more time. So my suggestion to you is, if you think that advanced scanners is in your technology roadmaps, even 6 months down the line, go ahead and select this option and then do the installation for those binaries. It will not impact anything if you are not using it. Point the Informatica Cluster Service and Catalog Service to the default keystore. That's an optional settings, but if you want to do that from best practice perspective, please go ahead and do that. So here are the few steps from the top in the upgrade process. You need a new license key. The existing license key will not work because now we are migrating from IHS to ICS. IHS, like I said, is Informatica Hadoop Service to Informatica Cluster Service. Since we are migrating the tech stack, you would need a new license key. Your model repository need to be backed up, and then you will remember that you will have to do backup twice of your catalog. One backup is from the InfraCMD, which is used for the rollback if at all you need to, if in case of any errors, and then you think that you're losing time and then you do not want to keep your system being down for a while. So this feed backup would be used to roll back and come back to the 10.4x version which you were before. The other one is from the export utility. This is basically for the restore of the content post upgrade. So this is in 10.5 format. The previous one was in 10.4x format. These formats are different. if you take one backup and you think, say for example, you have taken 10.4 backup and you think that backup can be used post the upgrade as the backup to be restored, it will not work. 10.5 format is different than 10.4 format. So remember to back up twice. The installer will prompt you accordingly, and make sure that you don't ignore it. Disable all the application services, clean the cluster, upgrade Informatica domain first, enable and upgrade the Informatica application service, but then do not do that for ICS and CS. After that, specifically do enable ICS. And I mean, if it is an external cluster that you're trying to run upgrade, you might have to create ICS. Then once ICS is done, then enable and upgrade the CS, which is catalog service, post which you restore the backup that we have taken in the 10.5 format. We talked about the backup that we are taking in the export utility backup. That is the backup which is in a 10.5 format. That backup will become a candidate here for the restore. And once that is done, verify the restore content. And this is basically are the steps from the top for the upgrade process. There are, it would be, when I'm saying seamless upgrade, that does not mean that you cannot get into errors. There would be few errors. There would be few troubleshooting that you would have to do. Upgrade is an upgrade, right? At the end of the day. So we have this link can be used, which will take you to all the KBs which we have created. So these are basically the errors which we have got, and then we have created and then we have solved it. So we have created KB articles for it. You'll find hundreds of KB articles to support any activity. So there are few which are for install and upgrade. So there is a mention for in the product component section, it will say install and upgrade. However, there would be others as well, right? When you're running a scan or when you're installing a scanner, you're finding any other error in your BAU process. So even those are being documented from any purpose that we need. So any of the errors that our team is facing and they found a resolution of it, the team go ahead and create a KB article for it. Use that KB article to leverage that to have a self-sustaining troubleshooting mechanism. Post the upgrade is completed, right? So there are a few tasks that you need to run. Configure advanced scanners and the global variables. So before you start using advanced scanners, make sure that you configure it first, set the global variables first before using it. If you're using SAP, any of the SAP resources, be it SAP BW, SAP BW HANA, SAP S4 HANA, any of these, make sure that you have a compatible version of SAP transport in place already. If you're for similarity, right? So go ahead to the administrator, rerun all the existing resources. By doing that, you will view the column similarity results of the previous Informatica version in the current version. So you would have run similarities in 10.4, and then you would want to see those results. You might have to rerun it, and those configurations will come in the grouped field. So in the resources to be grouped field, select the resources which you want, and then view column similarity results. So you can select the specific resource for which you want to view the column similarity results. That brings us to the end of our webinar today. I thank you everyone for joining with us today on the webinar. I will open up for questions here. Please feel free to ask all the questions that you have. We are happy to answer them in this call. If there are any questions which you have, even post this session, feel free to reach out to your CSMs or support staff, and they will be able to connect us with you, and then we would be happy to take that from there. Thank you so much once again for joining in. Have a nice day.